All righty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inspired by Jimmy L. We have a very special guest on today. I don't even know how to describe this man, but an amazing YouTube sensation. I mean, the author of the one word, Evan Carmichael. Thank you again for saying yes.
Thanks for the love, Jimmy. Great to be here, man. I love your vibe and energy.
Okay, I want to start this thing off right, and I've got to ask this crazy question. So, I know you talked a little bit about your background with your parents, just a little bit.
Okay.
And I think you hinted a little bit on your mom giving you a lot of love and confidence. So my very first question for you is, would you consider yourself to have grown up in the quote unquote middle class of society?
Yeah. So, I mean, my parents, I give a lot of credit to. They're on the wall behind me for people watching the video. That's me when I was like 9 and my parents hovering above me. My one word is believe, and it comes from them. We grew up in probably lower middle class. My parents had, working jobs and they really believed in education. And so they spent all of their money on our education. I have 2 sisters, I'm in the middle, and we went to private schools. And that's where all of my parents' money basically went. So we had really kind of beat up cars that were falling apart and making big noises. And, I remember, the private school kids, when you turn 16, your parents give you a Mercedes for your birthday and all this stuff. And I was like getting picked up in these, beat up cars. But my parents just really prioritized education over everything else. And so all of their extra income basically went to our schooling. So lower middle class. But at my school, I always felt a lot poorer than that because they're all going around you. Yeah, running around with their fancy cars and watches and weekend parties, and like, man, I can't afford any of that stuff.
Like, Evan, you have no idea how glad glad that you actually said that. And the reason why I'm asking that, I was kind of going with the whole ed-to-my-led philosophy in regards to how different levels of classes kind of, creates or determines your level of success or how quickly you're able to get there. And so my follow-up question is, because I'm in the middle class with you, or at least that's how I grew up. And my question is, like, do you find it, or did you find it to be a little bit more successful? I mean, a little bit more difficult to become successful coming from the middle class?
I don't know that I've thought about that too much. So let me process that question.
You got 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes. Evan.
Yeah. No, I love it, dude. I love it. I love it when I get asked a question I've been asked before. I do interviews a lot, so Jimmy's put me on the spot, and I love it. I would say I think the most successful people are the ones who come through adversity. I think if you have struggle in your life and you get through it and you rise above it, those are the people who ultimately win. And so I think I look at some of the people who I went to school with, and a lot of them are not happy with their life. A lot of them have taken these safe corporate jobs who are, a lot of them in their jobs, they were given their jobs because of what their last name is or because who their parents are. And I think they're being sheltered, and I think they're actually set up to lose. And a lot of them are unhappy with where they're at right now. I had a weird thing where my parents had some success. We weren't broke. But I also wanted to make it on my own. So when I started my business, I didn't use any connections, even possible connections that my parents had. I don't know why or where that came from, but I remember in my first business not having any money and struggling to get by. And I went to the bank to say, hey, I've got a new business. How can you help me? And they said, well, do you need a loan? Like, I don't know. I'm starting a business. You're a bank, right? You're
supposed to help me.
Right? Like, that's not really what banks do. I was like, oh, okay. I had no idea what I was doing, but I didn't want to use any connections in the family. Not that we probably had that many, but I just felt like I wanted to make it on my own. So I give my parents a lot of credit for instilling belief in me and making me who I am. And they're still my greatest role models, not in terms of entrepreneurship, but just how to be a human and how to treat people and like what's right. But apart from that, all the other success, I think, does in large part come from the adversity of struggling and failing and not making it and wanting to make the path a little bit easier for others.
So, okay. So along the lines of doing what's right and having the morals there behind you,
Mm-hmm.
you did a video that I watched that, like, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna lie, Evan. It almost made me cry, like it really did. It was about the Black Essence series.
Black Excellence, yep.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned some negative comments and people stepping out and speaking against it. And you made it a point to actually do a video to say, hey, that should pretty much forget all of your, whatever your comments are. This is what I'm doing because this is what I feel is the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what made you, because realistically, you could completely ignore them. So, but what made you feel the need to step up to create a video specifically around that?
So for me, I'm a weird duck in that I don't really care about gender or color or religion. Like, I love learning from everybody. I'll like, the first person we did a video on was Kanye West. The first top 10 was Kanye West, and he's on my wall. Like, you can maybe barely see it at the corner.
Oh no, I see. Is that a baby? What is that he's holding?
It's a print on his shirt. He's got it's like a little angel on his hoodie. He's wearing a hoodie with an angel.
Okay.
So he's the first one on my wall, and it worked its way this way. I did it because a buddy of mine, a close friend, made a post about Kanye West, 7 or 8 years after the whole Taylor Swift thing, and it was still kind of attacking him or making fun of him. It was like, guys, you know what? Kanye, like, he'll say a bunch of weird stuff, but he's also a genius that I feel doesn't get recognition or credit. So it doesn't mean you ignore maybe the stupid stuff, but also you can learn from this man. And so I love learning from anybody who can teach me. Like, I have Steve Jobs here. He could teach me how to be a visionary. I don't want to learn how to be a parent, a father like Steve Jobs. I got my parents for that. So like, I'll learn from Oprah. I'll learn from Martha Stewart. I'll learn from anybody if they got something to teach me. And so I for a long time resisted putting any kind of cultural lines or skin color lines or gender lines on the channel. If I can learn, I'm going to put it up. And then I started reading the book of Martin Luther King, and great book, The King Years. And I was looking more into his story, and I learned about the original Star Trek, when Lieutenant Uhura, the actress who played Lieutenant Uhura, she wanted to quit Star Trek after the first season and go back to Broadway. And it was significant because she was the first Black woman of any kind of power on TV. She was third in command. It was Captain Kirk, then Spock, and then Uhura. So she was third in command on Star Trek. And at that time, there was nobody who was Black, let alone a woman, who was in any kind of position of power on TV shows. They were all like maids or janitors or just entry-level kind of stuff. But she told, and that was like Gene Roddenberry, who created the series, who like had the courage to put her on as the third in command. She wanted to quit after the first year and go back to Broadway because Broadway was her actual love. And she got a visit from Martin Luther King. He caught wind of it and says, you need to keep doing this because it's important for our community to see people in positions of power and success. And that made her stay with it, and she stayed all the way to the end of the series. What's that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and Gene Roddenberry was the guy, the visionary who made it all happen, right? Like, the courage to put a Black woman at that time as number 3 was ridiculous and awesome. And so that was a great story. But then it goes a step further in that Whoopi Goldberg, famous actress on The View now, she remembered when she was a little girl watching Uhura on TV, and she would call her mom to say, Mama, 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 there's a Black woman on TV and she ain't no maid.
Okay.
And that inspired her to become an actress. Right. And so as much as for me, I don't ever really care like what country you come from or religion or skin color or gender. I recognize that that's not most of the world's perspective, in that people like learning from people who are like them. So writers like learning from writers, and Asian people like learning from Asian people, and women like learning from women, and men like learning from men, as a generality, but it's true. And so the secret kind of ninja approach for me is I want people to come in for people who look like them, and then I want to show them the other side. Like if somebody comes to my channel and they're a white guy and they love Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, great. I'll give you lots of white guys on the channel, but I also, hey, here's some Oprah content. Hey, here's some Kobe content. You know, here's some Magic Johnson content. Like here's some great content that you can also learn from to actually create more tolerance. And so in thinking about the Lieutenant Uhura story, I thought I'm going to start 3 new series. We're going to do one, Black Excellence, that Sean Combs had made that term or that hashtag trending on Instagram. Girl Boss for women entrepreneurs, and Somos for the Latin community. And when I launched the series, the Girl Boss, none of the series ended up doing really well because I didn't have enough of that core group. And so I had a different method. I have my 254 Black Excellence now. But what was super shocking for me was when I put up the women one, the women loved it and the guys were okay with it. And when I put up the Somos one, the Latin community loved it and everybody else was just okay with it. But when I put up the Black Excellence one, there was so much anger on that series for some reason. The people, the Black community mostly loved it. And there was so much negativity from the non-Black community. And it was just shocking. And I didn't understand why so much against the Black community versus women or versus the Latin community or versus something else. And so to me, it only made it seem like it literally cemented in my mind the fact that it's needed. Like then because there's so much negative, like you need this has to exist. And it should be people from outside the community. Like I think the solution is not only for Black people to say that Black people are awesome, but for white people to say that Black people are awesome, right? That like people outside the Black community are willing to learn from people inside the Black community and say, hey, these people are excellent. And it's not to say that one community is better than the other. The idea is only to shine a light of excellence. So people say, well, why don't you have a white excellence series on your channel too? As a white guy, I feel adequately represented by the content on my channel. Like, I think if you're a white guy and you want to learn from white dudes, there's a lot of them on my channel, you know, but I wanted to, we make an effort to try to include lots of diversity in the channel. It's not always easy. Like if we're doing a series on billionaires, most billionaires are old white dudes. It's just what it is. Yeah. So we have to struggle. Like we have to find Oprah and pop her in there. We have to find Sarah Blakely and pop her in there. Like it's not always possible. It's not always doable. I had a woman DM me on Instagram today saying, when are we going to get the gender parity on your videos? I'm like, I don't know. We're struggling. I'm struggling to get more women on the channel. I'm struggling. Yeah. So like half of our top 10s are women and half of them are men.
Oh, okay.
Like I can't, there's not enough great women producing great content. There's just way more men out there doing it. I would love to feature more. So I see it as like my community I call Believe Nation. Mm-hmm. So I have my own nation. It's my own country. You know, we got 1.6 million people, and I see my role as important to that community. And so we shifted the Black Excellence series from a one-off video to 254, where it's a email series where every day for 254 days you get a morning video that's 30 seconds to 4 minutes long every morning to start your day highlighting excellence in the Black community somehow. And the idea is if you woke up and you started your day and you see a role model that you can look to and learn from, and in your head, you're saying, I can be successful too. Like, here's someone who's like me. I can be successful too. If you started your day like that every day, 254 is because it takes up to 254 days to build a new habit, then your life will change. So like all you have to do, like watch this video, because you may have people around you saying, well, you can't do this. You can't do that. It might be your parents, it might be your friends. And so I want to be a positive voice. I want to be the voice that says you can do this.
And I've got to ask this. Okay, so Evan, like I started my podcast initially along the same lines, wanted to inspire others. I found out that I had more confidence than most people, and it was like the craziest thing ever. Yeah. But people come or gravitate to me to say, hey, you know, this is their problem, this is their issue. They feel free to be themselves around me.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily empowered to take that back to their organizations or to take that back to their leadership role. Yeah. Like, what advice could you possibly give for someone that says, I want it, but I don't necessarily have the willpower to actually implement it?
So if I'm you, I try to look at how can I be a consistent seed for them. So somebody might meet me, or they listen to this one interview, or I see them at an event, and they'll get inspired. And we've all been inspired by a one-off thing. By going to a show or hitting up and seeing a motivational speaker or whatever. You felt inspired, but then you wake up the next day and you're starting from scratch. It's starting over again. And so that's why whether you like my 254 series or you go and create your own, I think that actually is the secret to not just once a year go see somebody that inspires you, but the micro dosage every day. So you start your day every day with something. Like if you believe that, so my first one is confidence, 254 confidence. If you want to get more confidence, every day you can start your day with a video of somebody demonstrating confidence. And if you watch that every day, it would slowly seep into you that you can be confident too. Same thing for the Black Excellence series. Like if you're on the fence, you believe that, as a Black person, you can't have success. Then every day you're hit for 254 days with another example of someone in the Black community being excellent. And so like it shifts you. And so it's that daily seed that I think most people are missing. It's why I make 3 videos a day on my channel. I don't expect people to watch every video all the time, but there's always a source of belief, right? There's always a source of belief. Like if you need more belief in your life, come to the channel. There's something new for you. And so I think we all need to design our own program for that. Like my channel is selfishly for myself because I want more belief in my life. I want more positivity and optimism and hope in my life. And so every video I do is a positive video, right? It's not top 10 stupidest things Kanye West has said, which would likely do better than my top 10 rules of success, right? Right? Like going negative wins harder, but it's just, I don't want to put more poison into the system. I want to be the change. I want to be the light. And so I've done it selfishly for myself. And I'm so thankful that, you and other people like watching the content because it allows me to keep doing it and build a business around it. But if there's something that you want, like if you think about, you were talking about people come to you and they want the permission to be more open and to be themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Then I try to, what's that program for me that every day I wake up and I do the thing that gives me permission to be myself. So like if it's Jimmy, then maybe it's coaching with Jimmy. Maybe you get a 10-minute call every morning with Jimmy that you're hiring him to remind you, right? Or maybe there's a Jimmy, your episodes of this show that can go back and watch previous episodes, but maybe you have these quick little morning boosts that they're either a paid subscription or something that is free that they can get every day. Maybe Jimmy is a supplement to something else too. Like maybe they love it from Jimmy and then they also love it from these 8 other people. And it's just making that choice that I'm not going to wake up like an accident and just fall into my day. I'm consciously going to make the choice that I want to bring more X into my life. I want to bring more belief into my life. I want to bring more excellence into my life. I want to bring more, what you said, openness and authenticity into my life. And so if you had to think, how do I start my day that allows me to have the courage to bring more authenticity into my life? That could look like different things to different people. Like for some people it might be a meditation. For some people it might be walking their dog outside and doing a prayer. For some people it's watching a video. For some people it's coaching with Jimmy. Everybody has their own method of learning. But I think as for you, if that's the movement that you want to lead, then trying to give people options, whether that's content, coaching, audio, video, written. I lean in on video because that's what I love the most. But
and I love it too. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I love video.
Right. But like so if here's my line of thinking is if spending half an hour with Jimmy gives people the permission to be more authentic, then I want them to get a little bit of Jimmy every day. Now, how do you scale that? Yeah. Right? It's through content or through paid coaching. Like you could have a program where you call people and you wake them up, or they have their breakfast and they have breakfast with Jimmy and you have like 5 different people a day.
I like that. I like that.
Breakfast with Jimmy?
Yes.
Get the domain, breakfastwithjimmy.com, pick it up. Your audience says, no, it's like you could do that every day for 5 to 10 people from like 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. for 10 people, or 12 people, 10 minutes at a time. That's all it takes. Like 10 minutes with Jimmy every day will shift your life on this topic. Right? And that could be a paid thing. Like they pay you X amount and hopefully it's fulfilling and, you know, exciting for you to watch the shift in people. And so Breakfast with Jimmy, here it is, the new coaching program.
I want to actually ponder and find, like, because I'm already doing inspirational videos every single morning on Instagram anyway.
Yep.
Like I'm that consistent.
Yeah.
Doing the podcast, it's been probably about almost a year, to be a year in January actually. And so I'm like, it's been consistent and I'm loving that. But you're right. Like I'm going to actually ponder on other ways to make it a little bit personal, a little bit more personal, and be able to reach and or contact someone directly every single morning. I'm going to actually do that. Like that's going to be my own like promise to myself.
Yeah. And I mean, it could be a way for you to make money. That it's a paid program that they're paying you X amount per month for it. Yeah. You know, people are paying you $500 a month to have a everyday call with you times 10, you're, you know, $60K a year. Great. Just from doing your Breakfast with Jimmy calls. Awesome.
And being me, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it'll be like the most fulfilling thing of all time for you.
Yeah.
And it's just because people need the daily reset, because I see it as what you're doing is raising their baseline. And so the baseline just slowly raises every day. Every time I see Jimmy and I meet him and I feel more confident and courageous and ready to be authentic, my baseline goes up just a little tiny bit. And if I meet him and hang out with him and spend the whole day, like it spikes, but then comes back down to where my baseline was, maybe a little bit higher. So that's why the constant exposure to that thing that you need more in your life will shift you with time. So 10 minutes with Jimmy for a week will get you feeling motivated for a week, but then you'll likely end up back to where you were. But if it's every day for 6 months, you will change, right? Like you will be a changed human being. And they'll come to you with the same issues. Like, Jimmy, man, you know, yesterday was great, but today I'm feeling like, I don't know, I can't wear that pink scarf today. You know, like it's just not, I don't know. Somebody's going to judge me for it. And what's Jimmy going to say? You wear that pink scarf. You own it. You rock it.
Of course. Like, right? Come on. It's a no-brainer. Come on, let's do this. Like,
that's it, right? And just that, you know, Jimmy, I don't know if I can wear my hoodie today. You know, I'm not feeling right. You're gonna make them feel. You're gonna give them the permission to be themselves. And with that constant exposure, then they won't need you as much for the permission because they're giving themselves the permission.
Which is the whole game plan.
Right. But that's a micro dose thing over time, not a one shot and it's fixed.
Yeah. I agree. I definitely agree. I know we're running low on time.
Yeah.
Where I definitely want to really quickly ask about the 2019 tour.
Where are you based?
I'm in Tennessee.
Okay.
Wished you was coming a little further down south.
Listen. You know what? You got to make your goals more important than your convenience.
I understand. Hey, I'm not even going to argue with you.
No, I love it. Listen, the tour is super fun. I'm hitting 23 cities in the U.S. and it's called the Believe Tour. And basically working through this, like helping people believe more in themselves and their abilities and their talents and their cause to go off and make an impact. Teaching people how to schedule for success, how to inoculate yourself against judgment, how to use the 595 rule to get out of your head and stop being a perfectionist and like do. And also hopefully connect people with other entrepreneurs because it's a lonely game. And it's nice to have other people and to know that you're like going through the same thing with them. There are events at intimate locations, and it's not just hearing me at the front talking. Like we're going to take action in the event. The 3 hours that we're spending together, you're going to be doing work. We're getting you to move. I'm pushing you out of your comfort zone and to move, right? Like if we were doing it now, it's like, Jimmy, we're going to do this morning call with Jimmy, breakfastwithjimmy.com. 1, go get the domain name. 2, you're going to reach out to 10 people who you've had on and you're going to email them right now and say, I'm starting this thing. What do you think? Like, that's what we're going to be doing. No more thinking. You're going to get out into action mode. That's the point of the tour. So I'm pumped.
I'm pumped for that too. You're going to make me actually go back. I'm going to look. I'm going to make my goals more important than my convenience.
And listen, whether that's coming to my event or just something else, too many people are like that. Like, you know what? If Jimmy had his breakfast with Jimmy at 11, then I would do it. Like your goals have to be more important than your convenience because hitting your goals will not be convenient for you. Like that's what separates people who go off and actually win.
I'm not going to lie. Like, damn it, Evan, I hate that you're right. I hate that you're right now.
You love that I'm right.
I do. I hate that I love that you're right. That was no one. Evan, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge and your time. I really can't thank you enough for it. I really can't.
Appreciate it, man. And listen, what episode number is this for you? What episode is this for you?
This is a new series. I want to say this is going to be 21 of Tuesday Thoughts.
I want to come back to be guest number 121.
Okay, wait a second. Okay, so first off, really quickly, because what I'm doing, I'm going to do clips of this so that we can get certain tips that you've stated within this video. And so this is actually going to last the entire month of January for me.
Okay.
My 100th episode is going to premiere in February. And so, so what's next?
Well, February I can't do because I'm on my tour, but I want to be guest. I want to be 121 of Tuesday Thoughts.
Okay.
Whenever that is.
Okay.
I'm coming back for 121 Tuesday Thoughts. We're going to have a good time.
Gotcha. Yes, sir, Evan. Yes,
cool,
sir.
Man. Listen, thank you for the love and the positivity and the vibes. I love it. It's awesome. It's a refreshing conversation. Got some new questions and pumped to meet a new friend, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Evan. Thank you again. Good luck on the tour.
Thanks, man. I'll see you there. One of the
Bye, Evan.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right.